Hi, my name is Marco. I am a former professional opera singer, and I love talking about music from an emotional perspective after a decade on the stage. Today, we're going to be listening to Puella Magica from Madoka Magica. There will be a lot of stopping and starting, some analyzing, and of course, just enjoying this music. Here, one of the really beautiful things about this is that we repeat this pattern twice. Some of the structural things that are really interesting about this is that it's based off of essentially a harp. The harp is layering throughout this entire experience. The harp is actually the instrument that is supporting that beautiful chant-like thing that's occurring in the soprano voices. That's a really tight harmony as well. One thing that's really interesting to note is that this is clearly, now to be fair, I am looking at a picture of these two girls, and so to me it really feels like this is a piece of coming of age, of stepping into womanhood. There is a slight air of mystery, almost mysticism, or some sort of a dark magic that's at play there. Also, you get that, just really quickly, I just want to rewind for a second. Yeah, you can also hear that a little bit in the way that we have that tring, that percussion instrument, almost the bells that kind of smash together there. And that really emphasizes, I think, this sort of almost this otherworldliness. I have no idea. I don't know anything about anime really, and I've just started reading manga, but this is all brand new to me. But this repeated cycle twice, it's almost like it ends up being like a big circle. And what that does is it creates a feeling of ever so slight unrest. I wouldn't say it's an unrest or uncomfortable piece of music, but it certainly veers more towards mystery. God, I don't know. I honestly, I have no idea what's happening. Let's keep going. The vocals have not changed, but what's actually happening here is we're pushing forward with the instrumentation. Now we've got not just harp, but we also have guitar, a little bit more percussion, certainly a little bit more of a bell-like instrument in there, and we're re-emphasizing that main circular idea, da 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 da. And I think this can be attributed to a waking up as well. This is much more in your face, much more a forward sense of really unraveling the mystery of what it means to exist. There's a real femininity in it, and I think that comes from the vocals, but also da 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 yampa ya da da da. If you listen to the way that it's sung, not a lot of vibrato. In fact, there's no vibrato, and it does feel like this piece is predominantly focused on a plain chant and forward-focused tone that's very bright, very clean, with no vibrato, so it's easy to harmonize without dipping in pitch. And that produces, again, a sense of youthfulness in that sound. Also, the rhythm is it's not fast, but it does have a sense of crispness to it. And I think that's really about youth, I think. New layer, and we change the dynamic structure of the piece by having more width to the sound with different layerings with the percussion in there. But actually, Puella Magica, I looked up the lyrics. What I saw on that day, what I felt as she lay, bearing the world on her shoulders, seeing the price she paid for the one wish she made, fighting on until it's over. The only thing I wished was for a way to save her, free her from the chains that kept binding her to her fate, find a way for all of us to keep moving, keep alive, all survive. Let's keep on fighting for our common cause, watching our friendships split, watching us fight and die, knowing our imminent sorrow, watching sadness and grief shatter our core belief, knowing the end of tomorrow. That's interesting. Knowing the end of tomorrow, and again, there's that cyclic pattern. It's almost like things never change, right? And then that da da bi da dim ba da da bu do do. Are there better ways for us to keep on living? Can we carry on after we're done forgiving? Even if the answer is no, I'll keep having hope that someday we will find the world we dream about. Though I once had my doubts, though I once stood in fear, staring at our hopeless ending, I saw how her resolve held, how her wish was sincere, standing against fate without bending. So it's actually a piece about courage. And I do think that I was right a little bit about the idea of this being a story about femininity, this being about a story about coming of age. I think this is like, how do we live? How do we continue to exist in a world that is pressing down on us and making us fight a challenge that is insurmountable? And I think think that that's really the core essence of this, is that the femininity and the childness comes from the question being asked, right? And so that's really interesting and fun. And the only wish I could think of was to save her, free her from the chains that kept binding her to her fate. Yet it became her that who would start the change to lead the way to the dark, to the day where the future we protect is shining. So there's a little bit of hopefulness in there too, based on the way that the lyrics counterbalance the harmonic lead saving, who will lead the way to the day where the future we protect is shining. And that's the crux. There's a little subtle thing. I mean, who knows if I'm right? It doesn't really matter ultimately, but that's really cool. And also the way that that final singer there just takes over and replaces it's essentially a refrain, a re-emphasis of that idea, and it's essentially a mirroring. It's very powerful, actually. Just a little tiny 5-second extra little thing. It really makes a huge difference. And then we fade out and end. I mean, what a gorgeous little piece. Sis Puella Magica. I mean, that's really cool. And I think it's very repetitive. I think it's very, very cyclical, very easy to identify, very catchy, very melodic, which would connect it to being catchy. And there's a constant feeling of forward momentum with the edge of melancholy there that consistently persists throughout the entire piece. And that's like a lovely 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Really, really enjoyed that. If you like this sort of stuff, there's going to be a lot more on this anime channel. Of course, I also run a video game music channel, Marco Meatball, and this is Marco Weebball. Stay tuned for more anime reactions and breakdowns and conversations about manga and all sorts of different things. And if you want to watch along to anime with me, check out the Patreon for more details on that. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.